Hello, guys. My name is Brad Hunt, and my channel is Discerning What Is True today. Today is approximately 3:15 here on the East Coast. My title of my talk today is How We Should Be Taking Steps to Be Away from the System, from their system. And what I'm trying to do is simply just begin to put out ideas out there for us to begin to, when the collapse takes place, that we need to be aware of others to work together. I don't know how exactly this will work. Um, it's a, this is open for others to share if they feel that is true. You have to find people who are like-minded, who understand in a lot of ways to, the dilemma we're in, because eventually the time's going to come, folks, that we are going to be trying to be out of the system, and we should be actually trying to do that already now. Not being dependent upon government of any type, not to be dependent upon even other, things like food sources, that we can begin to use our own food sources. Can this be done in a way that people will get along with each other? That's the main thing. Um, I thought about simply is the idea of simply having what we call maybe a co-leadership. One would be who has quite a bit of knowledge about how to grow food, how to be discerning of what's going on, um, how to have what I would call some type of protection from outside forces in case there's those who would try to steal from others. Um, we're not going to be able to depend upon any type of military or government type of operations because we're going to be on our own. And so part of this idea is simply is beginning to separate yourself from dependency. And so you need to be able to grow your own food. You need to be able to find like-minded people. And if it's only just a few of you, you still need to build kind of continuity with each other. That is to begin to see the apparatus that you need to deal with. You also will be dealing with what I would call people who may be destructive, even in your group. And how are you going to handle that? Um, you're going to have what I call one leader, but you're going to need a co-leader. You're going to need people, like I said just a while ago, learn how to grow things, uh, build things, how to, each person is responsible for certain things to do, either what they enjoy doing, to also train or teach others, that is your children, or other people who just don't know if they're willing to learn. There's not going to be what I call there's not going to be what I call the deal, what we would think is a laziness within the group. If you don't carry your full weight, you see, you're going to be gone. You're going to have to be, you have to think of all these things that could create problems. Um, some of these ideas are coming from the Ringing Cedars, but Ringing Cedars now is a part of the United Nations organization, so that's not going to work in some ways. The other thing simply is to have sovereign land, having land that actually you own outright as a sovereign. You need also to be seeing that in that dimension. That is because simply is that they're going to take people's property. You're going to have to be self-sufficient. There won't be what I call ways of, like there won't be electricity in the future, probably. I'm not trying to spell a bad doom here, but I do think it's important that we already begin to think of these thoughts in the future now instead of waiting till the last minute. And you'll have to delegate. You'll have to have people that you can trust. They're going to tell you the truth. You're going to have leaders that do that. Um, you're going to be working with what I would call limitless deal. That is, you're going to have to be really dependent upon yourself. You can't depend upon government to help you in all walks. And that was why I did this earlier video earlier today, was simply to keep the noose around, keep the noose from getting around your neck, because in reality, when you do that, you are putting yourself in danger. And you'll never get out of it. It's just a trap. Um, you know, we're all in different areas of the country. That is, we're all in different parts of the world. We're there for a reason. We have some resources. That is, I assume that some of us do have resources, have already developed either a pantry or has some type of animals or livestock, so to speak, that can be less dependent upon others. And if that's can be done, it should be done now, because the inflation is having enormous impact upon everybody, and it's going to be harder in the future to even go it alone, unless you are a well-off person, millionaire, and has oodles of land type of thing. So this is something you need to start thinking about, that is in your region of the country. Where I'm at in the South, the major issue is going to be religion. Many are, in a lot of ways, are still going to cling to some type of thinking that Christ is coming back, Jesus is coming back to save me, that type of thinking. That's not pertinent. But when they, I think some of these people will eventually come to the realization that they've been brainwashed, and come to that thinking that realize, wait a minute, I've been taught lies. And with that, you see, so the key thinking simply is, can you be a good leader? Can you lead other people? Can you demonstrate that? Can you be honest in what you do, that so that others know that they can trust you? And then you have to have the discernment to know, can you trust the ones within your group? In other words, there's going to be what I would call, could be what I would call simply is those that don't carry their weight. You see, when I mean weight, simply it's their responsibilities within helping within the group, because there are going to be things simply is that you've taken for granted, for like electricity. In the future, there may not be any electricity. So what are you going to do? Do you have ways of doing it the old way? Is there talents with people who can butcher animals, who know how to butcher animals? That's important. Again, like I said, raising of crops. Who knows how to garden? Who knows how to use such and such? And then also to teach others. That's critical. So that you can, that's why I'm saying something. You need to begin to draw upon others and talk to people who you think that might be interested in some of these things, and realize that the handwriting's on the wall, you see. And this might be, like I said, in all parts of the country here in America, also in the rest of the world. Ringing Cedars does have a great idea to have, and it's a close continuity of people. Now, I don't know how well it works, but there are people who have their own individual houses, per se. They bought property and then built their own houses, so to speak. And these are things you need to just think about. Where do you want to live at? And another thing simply is, do you want to live? Some of the soil here and where I live in the South is depleted. It's nowhere near as good as basically some other areas of the country. Although I always recommend that the Midwest is probably not a great place to lead, also because the soil has been depleted of its nutrients. But there are other areas of the country that actually are suitable to grow crops. The key is simply also is to have a year-round, what we think, what we call seasons, that you have the 4 seasons that are taking place within your own area you live in. So you will have a winter, you'll have a spring, you'll have a summer, and you'll have a fall. And with that, you can always grow crops. So the crops here in the South have been able, if you can grow crops here longer than you can in the Midwest. There's a shorter season up in the Midwest. Do you have adequate water? That is rainfall per year. Here in where I live at, there's usually approximately over 50 to 55 inches, maybe a little bit more than that, depending on the year, of rain per year. So are you have the ability to collect that rainwater and to be able to use it for because water is going to be a critical issue. Critical are two major things. Well, three: shelter, water, and food. Those are the three ones. But you can't live without water. Period. So water is almost the most important of all of them. You see, because you need water not only for cleaning, you need water for and to drinking. You need water for um, even if you have dry spells during the year of your crops, possibly to keep them alive. And do you have a well? That's another question. Do you have a well on your property? Will you have a way of simply fencing in what you call your land in a way for animals? And will it have a way of housing them during the winter months? Where are the best places to live? That is to do this, and you can here in the United States. Where are the best places? You know, you can suggest those here at this point. You feel are great places to live. Um, and then also the advantage is simply in the South, or simply is that the taxes are lower. Although that system probably will fall um, because I'm sensing that the government will be somewhat out of control. They're not going to help you. So you're going to, like you said, you're going to have some people. You're going to have to learn. You're going to teach people how to use certain weapons to protect you, and you're going to have the discernment, like I said earlier, to deal with people who you can trust and who you cannot trust. Um, so and you know, you can share your feedback here whenever you want to. This is something I just thought about here in the last few days. It's been on my mind, and it needs to be a, 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 a group effort. One cannot do all these things, you see. And I'm single. I have a house. I have some property, but very small piece of property. Can I live off of it myself? Well, yes, I can live off of it myself in some ways, but I am also dependent, you see. I know the county I live in has allowed people in the county to have livestock that as long as it doesn't cause any disturbance with people, that can be grown. They can have livestock, cows, goats, possibly chickens, possibly pigs, as long as it doesn't cause any issues with neighbors. And that depends on how close you're to neighbors also. It's critical that it's critical for people that they're going to have to be workable, pliable, um, not thinking their way is always the right way. You need to ingest people who have a call, people who have gifts, abilities, you see, so that this can continue on. I don't have all the answers here, but I realize that the shape that we're in, and I see inflation taking place. You know, you're buying things now in a way to save money because if you save money these days, folks, you're losing your value of your money. That's what's happening. If you save your cash and there's a 10 to 15% inflationary rate, you're losing money on that cash. Okay, that's just reality. That's what's going on. That's what inflation is, you see. And we know simply is they're going to try to digitalize everything, and you're going to have to be someone who is not in that system in the future. You're going to have to realize I can't depend upon Amazon. I can't depend upon such and such places. I need to have what I call the basics. Do I have seeds here to grow? Do I have seeds to grow certain crops here in my backyard or in my field, or whatever? Do I have what they call, I have a friend here who like to do what they call it a food forest, completely different makeup, that there would be trees with the fruit and not all together, working together in a synopsis of all of it working durably, uh, each thing thriving in that context of growing, you see. Um, do you have the seeds to grow? Then when you do have seeds, do you know when to plant them? Will you have soil? Are you letting the leaves sit on the ground and letting them organically die? You see, um, all important things. And I think that it would be good that we would be to begin to do some things that people have gifts could actually begin also to share this information, which is already being done now on various YouTube channels. And if you have suggestions, you're more than welcome to share those suggestions. I'm sorry, those links so that people can do that. Now, before there is no power, because that's what's going to happen. There's not going to be any power. Do you have a backup system? Can you cook things without electricity? Can you cook things that on wood? And it may be, it may be smaller is the better. If you have a piece of property, you may have no need more than 4 or 6 people being together. And can those people work together? You see, that's the whole deal, because you're going to have to strive to work together. See, do you have someone who is a hunter or knows how to hunt or how to butcher animals, as I said earlier? And it can be done in a way that others don't know. This is another thing, because people are going to be starving in the future, folks. And the moral difference between what would happen in the Great Depression here, as I've said before with my grandparents, is that people would work for food. I don't think that's true of the younger generation. In fact, I don't even know if the even older generation would do that. So that's another thing you need to be thinking about. Simply is if you do have children that come in within a group, there should be what I call a way of not only educating them these things like planting your own food, so that they will be able to spread that to others themselves. They're young people, such and such, when they grow up, when the older ones have already passed away. You see, this is critical in a way to begin to think these thoughts within your own mind. If you are a leader, if you're not, then you need to actually go and find a group that you can trust, or people begin to do that, because they're talking about a lot of things here. Are you going to be jumping in your car and being able to go to the grocery store? No, you're not going to be able to do that. They're going to be able to do all these things, folks. These drones are going to be used as a way of making sure that you don't go where you're not supposed to be. So you can toss your phone away, but they're going to have what I call drones that are going to follow you. You may have one for your own particular body or car or whatever. They may have weapons actually to eliminate that. Your car may never start. They have electronic means of doing that as a way, so you won't be able to go anywhere by car. You may not, it may not even be that worse. It may simply you just don't have any gas, you see. And so people, when they come in a group, should be able to not only give or give something of what they have, that is, seeds, extra food they have within the group. There's a possibility. If they want to do it alone themselves, that's their prerogative. But if they don't, such and such, so do they have other ways to do it? Can they, the other idea simply is that people are talking about solar power, but solar power only works when it's sunshine outside, folks. Okay, so here in the South, I've noticed the last year or two that the clouds are here almost. This year's even far worse because there are clouds here all the time now. There are clear days, yes, but there are more cloudy days. So can you get any energy from that? As far as I know, probably not. So you're heavily dependent upon that in the wintertime. And people tend to be weaker at the wintertime. Also, another thing is, do you have someone who is able to help in the medical field? That is, are they trained enough to know in case someone hurts themselves or cuts themselves? Can they bind or help with that wound? You see, because you're not going to be able to go to a hospital, folks. It's just not going to work. You see, again, because you're going to be locked down. You're not going to be able to do anything. And I don't even know how much structure and power is going to be over this, you see. And it's kind of scary because most of us, not all of us, have basically lived a good life and be in 60 years old, have had this whole apparatus around us, and we've never actually, thought about these things happening. that is such and such. But they're warning you what they're going to do. They're telling you what they're going to do. You see, they're telling you that they're going to turn the power off because of certain things, or there's such and such as a climate change, which is all bullshit. And if you need to get yourself out of this frame of mind of believing anything they share, because all they do is they lie to you. Although they do share what's going to happen, they are actually protect themselves from karma. But you know, you need to realize simply is that you know, movies and this type of thing, all these things that you take for granted, fringe benefits, are going to be gone one day. You're not going to have. Well, what they want to do is simply is to connect you to the internet. That's part of the whole phrase, to keep you always in that. But you're going to have to eventually say, do I need this stuff or not? You're just going to say, well, I'm just going to cut it. I don't want to do this anymore. And then when you have the money, and at which that time you won't have the money, so they'll have what they call social credit. So if you're on the social credit system, you're already in trouble. You're already in trouble. So the time to prepare is now, has been for some time here. Because, you know, we all need water, we all need food, we all need shelter. So again, this is not to scare you. This is just the idea simply that you need to be thinking of these things at this time to begin to prepare for the future. And you need to find like-minded folks, people who actually understand where you're at. And you're going to have to be you're going to have to basically sense who they are on your side in a way, understand what's going on, and those are not. And you're going to have to say no to certain people in the future. And the hard part simply is maybe someone gets in your group and becomes a problem, and they're not willing to carry anything such and such, whatever it is, you know, work-wise, or they just don't want to do anything, just want to eat. You're going to have to get rid of those people somehow. And how are you going to deal with that? You see, these are all things you have, because none of us have done this before. We haven't encountered all this type of problems in the past. I mean, if now and future. And some may say, well, this may not happen. Yeah, it may not happen, but it's best that you prepare. I don't think it will. I think it will happen, you see. So that's why you always need to be prepared for a rainy day, you see. So I know I'm kind of rambling here, so I don't want to keep going here, but I just want to share this with you. Begin to work in your area, who you can find, you can trust. Can you trust your family? You see. And you need to write these things down. And you need to have first aid things in your house. You need to have all kinds of herbs, alcohol, so all these things that can actually help you. You know, and those who are dependent on drugs, you're really going to be that's going to be a problem because that's not going to help the situation. And when I mean drugs, I mean I'm not talking about smoking marijuana, this kind of stuff. I'm talking about you depending on some type of heart medication or some other type of medication you're on, because in reality, you're not going to be able to get that stuff in the future neither. You're going to be dependent. And it's best now simply is that you need to eat the right kind of foods and to keep your health up. And you do need to have herbs in the house. You do need to have these things ready in case something happens in the future. You know, castor oil, you know, those things. You know, anything to do with pain. But yeah, it would be good to find someone who is a nurse who actually knows how to bind a wound, knows how to, when a bone, someone breaks a bone, they're able to mend it, you see. And if not, you need to begin to watch videos and begin to learn how to do it, even if someone's doing this, already sharing it on the internet, and start learning these things. So anyway, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate your time. And again, you're welcome, I should say, to share your comments here so that you can actually learn. Find people who are like-minded in your area. Here where I am, it's a lot harder, I think. You need to be out of the cities. It's another thing critical to get out of the cities, folks. Get out of the cities if you can. That's, you know, you don't need to be in any kind of super debt. So that's another key. These are all, you know, there's no longer what I would call the basics are what you're going to have to cover the basics with. So, and I'll go into more of this detail in the future. as I share what I feel like it should be shared out there for others. And again, like I said, thank you for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. And share this video to others. Help people to see. The more that see this, not just from me, from others, moves people in the right direction. We have to be one step ahead of these people, folks. Those that choose to trying to destroy this planet. Okay? Thank you. You take care.